it's such an amazing business model to get you to, one, you're going to get financial and time freedom, but it gives you both the money, and it gives you essentially the skills and the knowledge to go into so many different things. It's kind of that gateway drug into, everything. So, I mean,
Yeah.
90% of what I'm utilizing with their apparel brand, I learned through drop shipping. So,
Okay, we are recording. I have on Braden Wuerch. He is a YouTuber that's dedicated to teaching people how to grow their brands personally and financially. He gives some great advice about mindset, marketing, and e-commerce, as well as sharing some of his personal life with his audience. So, Braden, thank you for coming on.
yeah, definitely excited to be here.
So, I like to start with this question. It's super easy. What is the most exciting thing you're working on right now, and why is that?
So I'm actually right now working on expanding a real estate portfolio. But what I'm really excited about working on right now is I'm developing a new apparel brand, and I'm going to be showing my subscribers and people that follow me. I'm going to be showing them essentially from scratch, from A to Z, what it takes to actually create an apparel brand, from finding a good manufacturer to having the good marketing, good branding, pretty much everything that goes into it. And we're already starting to see some traction in the testing phase. So hopefully big things to come with that.
That's awesome. A lot of questions can come from that. One is, would you mind getting into it all what you guys are doing for the testing phase? I'm sure you'll cover that in your course, but that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So we're actually using print on demand, which is, a type of drop shipping where you can go ahead and have your own designs, your logo, everything actually put on a piece of clothing or something like a hat. And then it won't be printed until the customer places the order. Now, this isn't something you want to stick with if you're actually trying to create an apparel brand, because the quality is not going to be as good. Typically, the printing is not as good, but it's great to test the market for your designs and see if there is any market for what you're trying to sell. And if you have anything, any bit of demand for it, then that's a great indication that you should go ahead and at least place a minimum order amount with a manufacturer. You then use your own packaging, everything like that goes into good branding. And then then you can go ahead and expand from there.
And so testing, are you guys building up like a pre-order list, just driving traffic to a pre-order list, or are you testing different channels as well? Or
yeah, so right now I've got some email lists that I've just been pushing it out to. And then I've been wearing it in some YouTube videos without saying anything, and just saying if there's any desire for what I'm wearing, anything like that. And we've gotten quite a few orders just from people that don't even know about it yet. So
oh wow,
yeah.
And what's the I haven't seen a video yet. What's the brand name?
Yeah, so you'll see it in a couple of videos. You'll see a pocket tee, but I don't actually have the first line available yet, so I'm not releasing the website or anything about that yet. It'll be probably within the next month and a half, I'm thinking.
Okay, I'll have to look out for that. That's exciting though. I mean, apparel brands are just blowing up all over the internet.
Yeah, it's hard work, and it takes quite a bit of time, and to do it right, especially if you're doing it this way, which I'm trying to show people how to do it, essentially with no money, it does take a lot of time. And essentially you need to go ahead and have other sources of income, because you're wanting to put literally everything you take back into the business. So this isn't something that, in 3 months is going to be popping off, but I've got some goals by next summer, what I want to happen with it. So.
Okay. So this is a more long-term project for you.
Yeah, it's a long-term one.
Cool. Another probably easy question for you is, one thing you see in e-commerce is people talking about, back in 2015, 2016, like it was so easy to advertise on Facebook. And now people saying, because of the increased difficulty on Facebook, drop shipping is dead. Could you maybe talk to that a little bit, what you think about that, what your opinion is?
Definitely, yeah. So first off, Facebook ads have gotten more expensive. I mean, more and more people are using them. But with that being said, in the drop shipping community, what I like to tell people is, since it is a low barrier to entry business model, you don't need much capital to start. I would, 97, if not more percent of people getting into it, one, don't have a business mindset. And two, they're just following blindly from everything they're hearing. And frankly, the information that's been put out for the last few years on drop shipping is to only test the big five English speaking countries, which is United States, Canada, UK, Australia, New Zealand, and do essentially tactics that worked back in the day. As long as you can advance as Facebook advances, you're good to go. I mean, I've got friends, I've got students that they're killing it with Facebook ads, with cheap products, drop shipping. And, it's just, a lot of people don't come into this business model with a business mindset, and it's hurting a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. That's kind of what drew me to your channel too. Is I think your channel is super undervalued now. I think it's going to blow up. Glad I got this interview. But you talk about that. It's funny because I come from a marketing background in done a little marketing for physical products companies, digital products, a couple tech companies, and most people in business know that channels expire and you cycle through them and you have to test different advertising channels. But it's like in this e-commerce space, people are like, this is the model, and if it doesn't work, that's it. Like, it's over. Yeah. And I heard you talking about, like, one of your videos, like, no, you can do other things to bring, your costs down in other parts of the business. Like, you can get your own non-white labeled products and eventually have the price come down. And you were talking about all these other parts of the business model you can test. And I love that. So how did you get that mindset? Were you running some business prior to doing this whole e-commerce thing, or how'd that happen?
Well, I would say it started when I was growing up. My dad was an entrepreneur. And he actually, he took a couple companies public.
Oh, wow.
So I was surrounded. So I was surrounded by constantly hearing him on the phone, going to meetings with him, everything like that. And I always, I guess we'll get into, my childhood, kind of what led to where I'm at now. So I always went back and forth throughout my whole childhood on whether I wanted to be an entrepreneur, or essentially in business. There's a time I wanted to be an investment banker and all of that, or I wanted to go into the military and make that a career. So long story short, I ended up going to a military high school my junior year of high school, because I was going to go the military route and wanted to go to the Naval Academy. Ended up meeting my now wife there. Her brother was my best friend there, met her. So then I decided to go to civilian college. I went to Mississippi State and did RTC. Well, at State, I studied business and marketing, business administration and marketing. And so I learned, some more general things there. I'm sure, did you go to school for marketing?
I did some business. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's general stuff. It's not really anything tangible, but, it's still being surrounded with, like-minded people. Then ended up going into the National Guard and then firefighting. And I was a firefighter for a little over 2 years. And during this time, I was seeing pretty much everybody I knew in the department had a second job. So they'd work their 24 hours on, get off, and go work a landscaping job or construction or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so, frankly, they weren't spending any time with their family, and family life is pretty big to me. And we're not having kids for a while, but when I do have kids, I want to be able to actually spend time with them. So, I didn't know anything about online business, but I did know there was opportunity online. And so somehow I got into the whole blogging thing. I created a health and fitness blog. And then, that started feeding affiliate marketing ads on Facebook and everything. So I started learning a little bit about affiliate marketing, but more long-term. So it was something that was more of like, maybe 2 years I can have an extra $2,000 per month, and I won't have to go ahead and have a second job. Well, then my wife and I took our first trip to Thailand, and I met several guys doing Amazon FBA. I met several guys doing affiliate marketing, social media marketing, pretty much everything and killing it and traveling the world. And so I came back from that trip and hit Amazon FBA hard, and then got into drop shipping, and then it spread from there. But as far as the actual business mindset goes, I attribute it to how I was raised, and then business school. And so, these are something that, it's cool that there's all these high school dropouts and everything doing it, but I'm seeing a lot of people lacking, one, a business mindset, and two, it scares me when I see essentially these kids encouraging kids to drop out of high school. So
yeah, that's kind of I think it's always hard because you can't see someone's context for their life on YouTube. No matter how much they tell you about it, it's like people's contexts that they're in for their lives are very different. One person's like, just drop out, might not work out, like you mentioned. So, man, that's interesting. That's like, you've done a lot of stuff. But one thing that really stuck out to me was you said you and your wife took a trip to Thailand and you saw these guys doing this, which for me, I've had a number of buddies that are successful in business, and a lot of them have had one point like that where they're like, I can see clearly now the path to get to this place I definitely want to go. How much was that, a life-changing event for you, or was it not as big a deal as something?
It was everything. Before, when I was doing the blog, I was getting the affiliate marketing things. Well, then as I started looking into the affiliate marketing things, just through the way targeting works on both YouTube and Facebook, I started getting hit with Amazon FBA. I hadn't really been hit with drop shipping yet, but I started learning about Amazon FBA, and I didn't know much about it, but then I was already kind of looking into it, and then I met a guy specifically that essentially in Thailand, he kind of walked me from A to Z through everything. And he was making great numbers doing it. I mean, he had been traveling literally like the prior 6 months all around the world. And so it definitely showed me that this is legit. And, it was enough for me to get back and get going. And frankly, going into Amazon FBA helped me with drop shipping. I think a lot of people start with drop shipping because it's, lower barrier to entry, but Amazon FBA definitely helped.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I saw you go into this a little bit in one of your videos, talking about how the skills are transferable and you can combine them to really create a more sustainable business. But why specifically did FBA help?
Yeah, so I actually learned about drop shipping as soon as my first product for Amazon FBA was actually bamboo sunglasses. So as soon as that got to the Amazon warehouses, I had just started learning about Shopify and learning about drop shipping. And so I decided to go ahead and I knew you could connect the two. So I decided to go ahead and connect the two. Well, then I went ahead and I ordered, some products for drop shipping. I had obviously my sunglasses, and I hired professional photographers and, did a whole spread for that. And so, immediately I didn't know about drop shipping, winning products, anything like that. I didn't watch YouTube in the beginning. Essentially I took courses, but even then I didn't know there was such thing as a winning product. I was coming from how I was raised. And then, in college with, you create a great brand, you find something that has demand, and then you market it right. And so with drop shipping, that was my main focus, was just creating a killer brand. And it definitely, I attribute that to essentially everything. But the way FBA really, really helped is, I was able to really, really see about creating your own product, white labeling, everything like that, which, drop shipping should not be the end game. I mean, if you want it to be, and you constantly want to evolve with the business model, because the business model is always going to be around. AliExpress drop shipping might not, but if you want to do that, you can, but that frankly should not be the end goal. The end goal should be you use drop shipping to give you financial and time freedom. And then to have the longevity, do different things about, with white labeling, going in and actually creating your own tangible brand, because that is going to be how you're going to, last 30 years. So.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's awesome. yeah, it's like, again, back to that. You see so many people if they're stuck, if it's not this one specific business model, then it's nothing. And they're like not willing to test anything. So what would you suggest now? I'm not going to say what exactly are you doing now, but what would you suggest other people do now if they're starting? Can you give us like a very basic overview of like the platforms you would use to get started and where you would kind of go from there, if that's possible?
Like where drop shipping's going from now? Is that what you're asking?
Where it, like, I guess right now it's what, July 2018, like what you would start with in terms of like maybe a few platforms to start testing products on if you were getting into e-commerce now. What do you recommend to your students?
Yeah. So, frankly, if are you asking about like testing products with different marketing tactics, everything like that? Are you asking specifically with drop shipping, or you just
Yeah,
talking
like
like?
would you say, like, to give you an example, like, hey, you should test products on AliExpress, you should test them on these few different
Yeah.
advertising channels. You should not do that. You should skip right to, white labeling and going to FBA. Like, what do you
So,
start with?
I'm still a huge proponent of AliExpress. This is a tricky question because I really do think it depends on how much capital you have. Obviously, if you don't have any, then you kind of left with no choice but to start with
Yeah.
AliExpress. But
Yeah.
I've got students that they're essentially starting from scratch, and a month or two later, they're killing it. And I've had one of my best students. He quit his job as a car salesman last month, and I mean he's doing massive numbers right now. But he is already thinking about moving into white labeling, everything like that. So if you're starting out with not much capital at all, then definitely go ahead, focus on AliExpress, learn Facebook ads, and start with those. Other marketing strategies work. There's Google AdWords, that works great. I don't like it as much for scaling. Instagram influencers work, but again, with scaling, Facebook is so scalable that if you find products that work, the beauty of this business model is that you can go from essentially $1,000 a month to $100,000 a month in revenue in a very, very short period of time. I mean, we're talking 50 days or less. So yeah, if you don't have much money, I would start with that. And even if you did, I would start with AliExpress drop shipping to learn everything that goes into running and marketing a successful e-commerce brand. But very quickly on, as soon as you start figuring things out, move into white labeling, getting your own products and everything like that. And, one cool thing that one of my students essentially did is he had money from the start, and he went in and he was in the apparel niche, and he found certain products that worked. And essentially, like pretty much immediately after he found out that they worked, he ordered very similar products, white labeled them, and now he's creating a full brand around that. But he already knew it worked, so he essentially through AliExpress. This is essentially the same thing I'm doing with Pro On Demand, creating this apparel brand. Is you can do that using similar products with AliExpress, but if you are getting in with no money, AliExpress is still very, very profitable.
That's interesting to hear. It's like, just there's so much crazy stuff in the dropshipping channels. I think most of it's for clickbait articles and videos, but people saying only do this model, this doesn't work. It's just it's a wild industry.
Yeah, and one thing that's been frustrating me lately is I'm hearing a lot of these other YouTubers essentially saying it's all down to the product. It's just you got to find that winning product. When, like I said, I come from very brand mindset, create the foundation first. Because if you don't even have the foundation, then even if you had a decent or winning product, you might not know it because people aren't willing to buy from you. You want to have a brand that people want to buy into. And so it frustrates me when people say store design doesn't really matter, branding doesn't matter, all that. It's just down to the product and then Facebook ads. And that is such a narrow mindset and only two aspects of a very, very broad business model.
Yeah, I think that's another really unfortunate part of the business is I think it's a better sell for anyone, not just YouTubers, if they can say, you just have to find this product. And it's also bad because then if that seems like it's not working, they say, oh, there's no hope. But it's just a hard sell, I think, for people to be like, well, if you, get the right CTA, you nail the copy on your ads, you nail the copy on your homepage, you nail the design, you nail the product market fit, you target the right people. Like, it just seems so overwhelming to try to sell that to someone, if you sit in front of your laptop for weeks adjusting this shit. But yeah, I like that you do bring that up, because it's just a more realistic way to get people, wrap their heads around the idea that they can actually test things in their business and not have to rely on, the whims of certain targeting on one platform or something like that. So let's see. Another thing I see you mention a lot on your channel, which was cool, is in almost every video you speak to this idea of taking massive action. You emphasize it in almost every video. What's that about? Why is that so big with you and your students?
Well, so this is something that, I had heard from, entrepreneurs quite a lot, was massive action. I never really knew to the core what that meant until, I came back from Thailand. As a firefighter, I made okay money, but it definitely wasn't, there wasn't much left over after bills and just regular expenses. So for me, it was taking massive action to go ahead and start with Amazon FBA, buy that inventory, especially coming from being a firefighter and all the other firefighters who, this is completely, they think this is voodoo. And so having everybody kind of tell me to not do it and everything like that, it was massive action for me to go ahead and do that. And pretty much every big milestone I've made in essentially any business I've done now has been, from kind of a leap of faith, taking massive action. So, for beginners, people getting into it, when I mean massive action, frankly, I'm just meaning take action, because I'm seeing too many beginners. They'll watch YouTube videos all day long. And then, they talk about, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, because they know about it, watching all these videos, and then they don't end up doing it. I actually put out the video on the channel yesterday, essentially telling beginners, learn this, go take action on it, then come back, because people are essentially just, getting bogged down with the information overload, and they're never starting anything.
Yeah, it's super easy because the infotainment on YouTube is easier than just cranking out shit in front of your laptop.
Yeah.
Well,
that's another thing too, is, in the beginning, like I said, I didn't watch YouTube, and I just never got, I watched YouTube for entertainment, but I never got pulled into Amazon. I think the only person I really watched was Tanner J. Fox when I was learning Amazon FBA. But frankly, with drop shipping and Amazon FBA, I just took courses. And so essentially, it was grinding. Nonstop grinding. I didn't ever really go watch YouTube. I wasn't spending my time on YouTube. With that being said, there is a lot of great information now on YouTube. Back in the day when I got into it, there were very few drop shippers on YouTube. There's a couple guys popping up about Amazon FBA, but drop shipping was still relatively new, at least in the YouTube space.
That's interesting. And what courses were you taking? Can you recommend any? What did you take when you were taking?
Yeah, so I took Tanner J. Fox's FBA course, and then I took Jay Ketsu's course, and then a couple guys that literally just popped up out of nowhere, and they had a course. Jay Ketsu, his course was pretty good. I would say it got me about 50% there. And then the other 50%, I had to figure out, what worked. I don't know if he still sells his. I talked to him probably about 6 months ago for the last time.
So yeah, again, it's July 2018. Who do you think has the best course? If someone's trying to get into it now, you can recommend yours. That's fine.
Well, yeah. So I think for a beginner, I would say beginner to intermediate. I really do think for the price and the value and what I provide, I would say, for beginner and intermediate, mine. I get on, one-on-one calls with my students. I'm really trying to be hands-on, because I found that no matter what course, the only way to really every business model, every different business, store design, everything like that is different for each person. So getting on a 30-minute call, I can really pinpoint what happens. Now, for experts, I haven't taken it, but I've heard great things about Alex Becker's course and Dan DeSilva's course. I haven't taken it, so I can attest to it. But, but the thing is, what I found is once you hit that intermediate level, you're making the 6-figure months, because essentially that's what, my course does. I get my students to 6-figure months. When you get to that point, then, you've got a lot to play with and test with and everything like that. Yeah. So I don't know as far as Dan Silva's and Alex Becker's, but I've heard good things about them.
Okay. Nice. That's interesting. And so I've done some marketing for some e-commerce companies, helping them with ads, but I haven't done a lot of the back end fulfillment, ordering. What kind of margins are people expecting here? I'm assuming you're saying 6-figure in revenue per month.
Yeah.
That's incorrect.
Yeah.
What kind of margins are you talking about?
Yeah. So I hear people say all the time, this is another problem with the business model is I see all the time on Facebook groups and everything, like I just hit 150,000 with a 70% profit margin. That's BS on AliExpress. With that being said, starting out, what I've experienced is when you're in the testing phase, but you've already got a decent or winning product, but you're doing low orders amounts, you haven't scaled yet. Usually it's typically around 30 to 40. As you really, really scale big, and that's when you get to the 6-figure revenue, I've seen it's anywhere from 15 to 30, 30 being on the very good end. For me, whenever I'm doing the high numbers, it hovers right around 20%. So, okay. And I've seen greater, I've seen less. It all depends on the products you're selling, the margins you've got on that. Typically the margins end up being better than high ticket drop shipping. So outside of AliExpress, but high ticket drop shipping ends up being a little bit more consistent. So it's a trade-off. And I get asked the question all the time, high ticket versus AliExpress. And I've had obviously a lot of friends that have done both. And frankly, my friends that do high ticket drop shipping do AliExpress drop shipping as well, because they love the margins. But with high ticket, you are getting that consistency.
Wow. That's still pretty impressive though.
Yeah.
15 to 30%.
20% from that. That's what I would say is kind of the average for someone doing bigger numbers. It's going to be, if they're doing things right.
So if you've had students get up to 6 figures, you've had some students that are like well over 20K in profit a month.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's really
I'm going to be planning within the next couple of weeks to be interviewing my at least that I know of, the guy doing the biggest numbers, and he did over 150,000 in revenue this last month, and I know he's got at least a 20% profit margin.
So at least 30K. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be the title of this video. That's a good solid ClickBank title, 30K a month.
Yeah. And the thing is, and this, like I said, this is what I said, it's such an amazing business model to get you to, one, you're going to get financial and time freedom, but it gives you both the money, and it gives you essentially the skills and the knowledge to go into so many different things. It's kind of that gateway drug into, everything. So, 90% of what I'm utilizing with their apparel brand, I learned through drop shipping. So now I've got a long-term business plan or business venture that I'm working on right now, or talking to people that it is completely outside of my comfort zone. And this is taking massive action. Kind of give you a little hint. I'm getting into the distillery business. So
no way.
This is something completely
That's a tough one.
Yeah. And it's expensive. And so with that, I'm having to, hire consultants and all kinds of stuff. But the point is, drop shipping gives you access to so many different things.
Yeah, that's awesome that you're getting to do something that where you don't have to just be so single-minded, focused on the money. You can do something that maybe you want to learn about or you enjoy. That's a nice luxury.
Yeah, the great thing about it too, I'm not about the 4-hour work week. I think it's cool. And I've had times where I've kind of done that. Yeah, I'm more about the grind and leveling up and all of that. But, I do have friends that they are about the 4-hour work week, and it's an amazing business model for that. I mean, I would say Amazon FBA, affiliate marketing, and drop shipping are the three big ones for, if you want to travel the world and not work, they're great, because once you get it set up and it's automated, you're still going to need to be doing different things as far as, product research and checking your Facebook ads, but it's very automated at that point.
Sometimes I wonder though, when that's advertised so much on YouTube, because I think I thought this a little bit when I was younger, or I'd worked for, in any type of business. I think some of these people literally think it's going to be like set and forget for like a long, long period of time. Like their channel is not going to expire. The market's not going to change at all. Like I feel like some people think there's not going to be this cycle of business.
Yeah, I've had friends that affected, and that is where I'm not a big fan of it, and I do think that. I know that for drop shipping, you have to keep evolving with it, or your brand will die out. And you have to keep finding new products. Now, if you've got a good brand, you can have winning products last for a long time, but you do need to keep pressing hard with it. You can obviously take your time. Like you can go to Thailand for a month and a half and, probably not be affected by it. But if you're going, 6 months to a year with just checking your Facebook ads, you're going to suffer a little bit from that.
Yeah. not a good game plan. So one thing that's awesome too about your channel, I love this, man, is you say, hey, you know what? If you're doing drop shipping, you're learning a valuable skill. I think that's so underrated in drop shipping is everyone talks about this easy set and forget money. Drop shipping is a super valuable skill that almost every internet company wants at some point to sell physical products.
Yeah. So not only are you learning the business model of drop shipping itself, which is utilized by so many big companies, but you're learning, Facebook ads. You're learning if you're doing influencer marketing. You're learning all these different marketing things, which knowing Facebook ads in itself is such a valuable skill set. I mean, that is something tons of money in itself. But then you're doing things right. You're learning everything from building a brand from scratch, alternative marketing techniques, back-end marketing, everything that goes into e-commerce. There's another YouTuber out there. He's literally paid by big companies because of what he's done with dropshipping. He's paid by big companies to market, their e-commerce products. So it provides so many different skills in itself, micro skills that are so valuable, and applied it to everything from inventory held businesses to drop shipping type to, it's amazing.
Yeah. And it's funny. I like that you emphasize it. It's funny more people don't because, in this same space, this is one of these spaces where you have so many people saying, hey, don't go to college. College is a waste. Like you mentioned, drop out of high school. But the only plan is to go hit it big with e-commerce. And it's like, you can also focus on developing these skills because, like you said, Facebook ads manager, e-commerce manager, if we were going to start over and develop college from scratch, those would be majors because those are jobs that almost every internet company. It's like you can get a job with that. Want to emphasize it. So yeah, do you have any plans to teach anything else besides, I know
Definitely.
You have your course. What other kind of teaching are you going to come out with?
Yeah. So one thing that I did have to learn in the beginning, I thought, I found quite a bit of success with drop shipping. I'm just going to go ahead and essentially make a course on it. And I had to learn in the beginning how to teach, and that's a whole skill set in its own.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've now kind of gotten that down. I'm going to do this apparel thing. I'm going to show it from scratch, but then I'm also going to probably create a full-on course. I'm talking have a manufacturer list, everything for that. But that's still with the e-commerce thing. I do want to really get into personal branding and consulting, teaching that, how to build a personal brand, the importance of it. everything like that. But as far as the teaching side goes, those are probably the only plans for right now. Now, I do want to get into eventually when I build the personal brand to this point, having, doing speaking engagements, whether it be e-commerce related or more mindset related. I mean, frankly, the mindset videos don't get as many views,
understandably.
But the people that watch the mindset videos, I get more, in-depth comments on those. And so there are people that want those, and those are the ones that I really enjoy doing those type of videos, because I really do think it's needed, especially in the drop shipping space, with it being a lot of, younger kids or people with literally no business knowledge whatsoever. So as far as teaching goes, those are the only plans right now, especially since I've got, the big business venture I'm working on, along with the apparel brand and everything like that. The apparel brand will feed into, if I do an apparel course, apparel brand course, and then I'm definitely going to do a personal branding course down the line.
Nice. Yeah, I think you have a really strong skill set with that. I'd like to get into that, like if you learned it from this teaching course or where. I really noticed it because I know a lot of much older YouTubers that have had brands outside of the internet space. They're really experienced, and you actually reminded me of a few that I'm thinking of at the top of my head, specifically your intro, man. It's so solid, the USP. You're like, I'm here to provide you guys with massive value to grow yourself personally and financially. Every video, you nail it. I mean, that's awesome. Where did you learn about all this stuff?
YouTube?
No, the personal branding and like getting, making sure people have a clear understanding of what they're getting from your channel, all this personal branding.
One thing that I do have, that I found is kind of a natural skill set of mine, is I'm very good at reverse engineering. And so, what I do is, in my immediate business model, so it was with drop shipping, finding someone that's done it, reverse engineering how they got there. Well, I've done the same thing with, where do I want to be when I'm 50 years old? I find people like that, reverse engineer. So, I watch a lot of people like Gary Vee, Grant Cardone, Tony Robbins, a lot of these, high level people. And, I try to reverse engineer how they got that way. And so, I would say with that came out of that. As far as the providing value, that's just what I felt was needed in the YouTube, at least drop shipping space. I think it was a lot of people just, putting out content to clickbait and get them to the course. So I wanted to actually provide in-depth value on YouTube that people could go ahead and use.
Yeah, I love the reverse engineering, man. I can't tell you, that has been the number one thing. Like, everyone from like expert coders to, like these tech startup founders, people just trying to get jobs, like reverse engineering is coming up more than anything.
Yeah, it's everything. And it really is the key to getting where you want to be. I mean, it's not copying per se. It's being inspired by that person and kind of utilizing what works. Mm-hmm. And once you learn what works, you can go ahead and utilize it, and it's most likely going to work for you if you put your own spin on it. So, I mean, it's still a work in progress for me. I mean, every day, YouTube's a beast in itself, learning out not only the algorithm and everything like that, but just what people like and what they respond to. So it is, especially on the personal branding side, it's a continual learning process. That's why I like it. It's a challenge, and that is one thing too that I found, even though I went through hard times with Amazon FBA and drop shipping in the beginning. It didn't take too long to find success with that. In the personal brand, I thought, I was going to pop up the channel and it's going to blow up. Well, it did not do that. And so it's been a challenge to learn, what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah, I definitely think everyone, at least on YouTube, most people go through that.
Yeah.
So I just have a couple more questions. So you still good on time?
Yeah, yeah, I'm good.
Cool.
Yeah, and yeah.
So,
I've got that till 2, so we're good.
oh, perfect. Nice.
Yeah.
So one thing kind of specific is there anything that you wish you had known before you started? It can be business or just the e-commerce thing specifically.
Um, Frankly, the dishonesty of people. I mean, I knew about it. I didn't know
Yeah.
how prevalent it was. Fortunately for me, and this is what I said before, one thing that helped me in the beginning is that I didn't watch a lot of YouTube. And so
Yeah.
I didn't know that the course space was even this huge space. And I just thought people with digital products online, because I knew people like, different motivational speakers and everything like that had, very valuable digital products. And until I got into the dropshipping world, I didn't know that there's kind of a bad side to it. So when you take the bad side of people trying to scam people into a really bad course, but then two, even just the dishonesty of customers in e-commerce. So people buying and just dishonesty all around. If you know that, and then you can prepare yourself for that, it'll save you money and time.
Interesting. Theoretically speaking, what's the worst thing that can happen to a dropshipper with customers?
Um, Frankly, the worst thing is it would be on you, having a bad supplier. And then I've heard horror stories. Fortunately, I haven't gone through them, but I've heard horror stories of essentially someone not vetting their supplier, literally getting hundreds, if not thousands, of orders. I want to say they got a little over 1,000 orders within a week period of time. They kept emailing their supplier like, when are these going out? And then the supplier just never responded back. So he had to refund like all his customers, and he was out of that money. So, but that's one horror story I've learned. But frankly, it's more of just frustrating customer service that comes along with it. But that's kind of the name of the game with drop shipping, since you're not actually holding that inventory. And that's why I suggest too, once you get the ball rolling, you've got the money, get into white labeling. Put your own, have your own packaging, have your own branding that goes along with it. It'll, one, help out the sales, but then two, you're going to have much better customer service that goes along with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, control everything about that customer experience. And what has been your best, since that's kind of a pain point for dropshippers, what's been your best solution? Do you have any specific firms you outsource customer service to? Do you have a team you set up? How do you deal with that problem?
Well, when I get into white labeling, I mean, that we'll kind of not really cover that, because when you get to that, that's when it becomes really easy. Shipping's very quick and all of that. But with drop shipping, one thing that I preach that essentially has set my strategy apart, and frankly, in the beginning, I've been doing this since the beginning, is I don't just go to the big 5 English speaking countries. I'm going all around the world. And so frankly, these European, Asian countries are perceiving, my companies as US. They know it's going to take some time to get to them. So, 10 to 14 days of shipping, that's not abnormal for them, coming from the US. So frankly, I don't have a lot of bad customer service, but the biggest thing I recommend to people is vet your suppliers. Have good suppliers. If you have good suppliers, they'll work for you, and you are going to have pretty quick shipping. And the thing is, people aren't, they think you just find a winning product and then you're going to go ahead and place those orders and it'll be good. You need to create a relationship with your supplier. I've got a friend right now that he's created such a good relationship with this supplier, has enough orders through them that they actually engrave his brand logo on the products for free.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So if you can go ahead and actually create those relationships, you're going to have, preferential shipping, everything that goes along with that. Plus, a lot of times you can negotiate the price down, but people don't talk about that. They don't even think about it.
Yeah. I can see people not wanting to think about that.
Yeah.
Cool. So I just got 2 more questions. The first one is, right now, you can recommend your course as well. What courses, books, blogs, mentors, anything you recommend to people trying to get into e-commerce or dropshipping?
So I would say if this is your first business you're getting into, definitely take a course. I mean, I know that sounds cliche coming from someone that sells it. I'm not saying you need to go ahead and buy mine, but that's what I did in the beginning, and you'll avoid a lot of bad habits. And frankly, there's so much information out there on YouTube, and a lot of it, frankly, isn't that good. There's a lot of other good YouTubers putting out good information, but some other YouTubers just are putting out bad information. I would say take a good course from someone who has student results, someone that you trust, and then as far as books go, I would suggest reading more general kind of business mindset, getting your mind right as far as what it takes to actually grind. A lot of people don't really understand what it means to be doing 18, 20-hour days until you get it going. I mean, people just don't understand really what it takes to kind of be at that next level. And then once you get going, I mean, obviously when you get into the whole kind of internet marketing game, everything like that, Russell Brunson's books, I mean, Expert Secrets and .com Secrets, those are
so good.
Those are insane. Yeah.
It's like gold.
Yeah. And then, obviously, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the more general type of books too, From Good to Great, The Lean Startup. These are all great books that I've enjoyed.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's such good advice, man. More of the internet business people need to become business people.
Yeah. Everybody in the internet game needs to read Russell Brunson's books. I mean, period. It's just.
Yeah, if you sell stuff on the internet, I can't believe those 2 books are basically lead magnets for that guy. Those books are amazingly, just so dense with information.
Yeah, they make him, those books right there, the funnel that he's got built around those books makes him millions of dollars around essentially a free plus shipping book.
Yeah, I think it was last year, ClickFunnels was valued at $360 million. It was the fastest growing non-venture backed software company in the world. So mind-blowing. Oh, yeah. Cool business, man. So last question, is there anything I didn't ask you that I should have or you'd like to just tell people about?
I think we about covered everything as far as drop shipping goes. I mean, if you get into the drop shipping game, definitely follow good business mindset. Build a foundation at the beginning with the brand. When you get to the marketing, don't be afraid to, 1, test and experiment, because that's what it's going to take. But then 2, the beauty of drop shipping is we have the 7 billion people worldwide at our disposal, not just, the 300 million in the US. So, really, really, scale out quickly all around the world. And then go ahead and think about how you're going to go ahead and solidify your position as an actual business owner, an entrepreneur. By what's the next step? Are you going to get into white labeling? Are you going to utilize the skills you've learned to create your own marketing agency? Think about longevity in the game rather than just the short term. Don't think short term, always think long term, reverse engineer how to get there.
Awesome. I love it. Well, Braden, I'm going to cut the recording and we can chat after, but thank you for coming on and giving people all this valuable information.
Good to be here.